And we are live. Hey everyone, good morning. I'm Thibert, and I'm going to be your host for this installment of Hacks Chats interviews. And I have three/5. I have 35 years invested in the comics industry, working mainly as an inker for Marvel and DC, but I've written and drawn plenty of books as well. As always, we have the great and talented Taylor Grosso. Good morning, Taylor.
Good morning, Art. How are you doing?
I'm good. What will you be doing today?
I will be reading your chat today, so if you guys want to join the conversation, ask some questions of Art or a special guest, I'll be your voice. Please go ahead and don't hesitate in the chat.
Yes, yes. And our special guest today is Ron Z. He is the writer creator of Patriotica, and he has a Kickstarter going right now, going strong actually, for his Patriotica 3. So good morning. Good morning,
Hey, good
Ron.
morning, guys. Good morning, Art. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, no problem. No problem. We're not going to get to talk to Ron too much. He has a place to be after this or in about an hour or so. Where are you going, Ron?
Well, I'm flying out to Alamo City Comic Con in San Antonio. First time in Texas and first time doing a show out there, so we'll see how it goes.
Nice.
It's a good show. Yeah, you'll have fun.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah. And so I guess we should start and sometimes Ron we're going to like cut in so Taylor can read comments and things like that. So just be prepared for that. So I guess the first question is how did you get in comics? Why? What do you do? You know, just all those like your backstory basically.
Um, let's see. Well, it's mainly was doing a lot of ghostwriting before, which I can't really say which companies I was working for before because of that. But then that's how I met a lot of artists and did a lot of conventions, made connections that way. And then I decided that I wanted to do my own comic since I was already doing all the writing and I knew so many artists. So, took a shot at it. And that's how, and then Kickstarter, I saw Kickstarter and I saw that some people were having some pretty good success on there. And spoke to some of the local guys here in Phoenix who were doing Kickstarters, and I went to a bunch of them for advice, and then decided to take a swing at it with Patriotica #1.
Well, what a swing you took. You're doing really, really well on these Kickstarters. Um, you have Patriotica, but I think you have another book too that you kickstart from time to
Yes,
time, right?
so in between my Patriotica, I've been doing Valkyrie Saviors. It's very different from Patriotica. Valkyrie Saviors is more anime inspired, and it's more what you would find like manga style, but with also a lot of Western influence. So just to mix it up, give them a little bit of a something else to read, um, things that I enjoy writing about.
You're the Stan Lee of Kickstarter. Hey,
There's definitely guys that do much higher numbers, but I'm trying. I'm trying to get up there.
so is one of the connections that you're talking about there in Arizona is that the great Brian Polito?
He definitely gave me some great advice, and his wife also gave me wonderful advice. And I basically went out and asked everyone I could. I backed a lot of different Kickstarters. Um, so that's one way that I recommend to people when they want to do well in Kickstarter is first of all back a bunch of Kickstarters, because this way you'll learn what they're doing and you're also helping out the community. So that's what I backed these kicks. I backed Brian's Kickstarters and I spoke to him at a show and he was really amazing and gave me some wonderful advice, both him and his wife, and. And then from there, I started. I had already been doing a lot of research, and then continued to do a lot of research, seeing how other people are running their Kickstarters, and also what people are saying about each of the Kickstarters I backed. I think when I launched Patriotica, I think I had already backed about 50 Kickstarters.
Wow.
Yeah, I figured, if I'm gonna learn, I really got to get in there. And you don't have to always get the highest tier, but just supporting them at any tier. I usually go for the physical item because I like getting all the stretch goal stuff. And then I learned, and I like the books. The stories were great. With indie stuff, you never know what to expect, and I kind of like that. So that's the one thing that that really helped me a lot was backing other Kickstarters and seeing how they did things, what things worked for them, what things didn't work, what people complained about, and what people were happy about. So it wasn't like something I just jumped into right away. I had already been doing it for 2 years, backing like a couple, 2 to 3 a month or whatever, and
seeing how it
that,
all works.
right,
Also, you get to see how like the ordering works. So you get to see what it looks like, and you start getting into the shipping aspects of these Kickstarters and all that. So I have your page up now, your Patriotica page.
yeah.
Tell me a
There
little bit
she
about.
is.
There she is. Tell me a little bit about Patriotica.
So Patriotica, she is the descendant of the goddess Athena. She's come to Earth to fight the invading gods and monsters, and whatever got the gods out won't let her in. So she has to bond with a human to get in, and she at first had someone else in mind, but then accidentally bonds with Aaron, a college student, and so now she has to fight gods, monsters, and college life.
Hmm.
It's awesome.
So how many so there's 3 Patrioticas total, right?
Right
This is
now,
the
yes.
third. How many successful Kickstarters have you done?
Well, if you count this one, it'll be number 5 since we already passed the,
Wow.
the goal. And yeah, it's just been a great way to get the book out there and to get direct feedback from fans. Like when they tell me, "Oh, I like this, I didn't like that." Um, I don't know. I feel like if I had gone through a distributor or something, I would never have heard any of this until like months later when it's too late. Whereas while I'm running the campaign, people are giving me feedback about what they like and they don't like. So I'm learning as it goes.
So you've done 5 of these, and when did you start? Like when was the first one?
Last summer was my first one. Last July, yeah, I think the beginning of July. So I did it like right in the middle, like right before San Diego
San
Comic Con.
Diego. That's when I
Yeah.
met you, I think, right?
Actually, I met you, I think, at the WonderCon before that.
Oh, okay.
But we spoke a little bit. I think you had something, the parking, there was some kind of disaster with the parking at WonderCon, and that's what we were talking about.
Oh, okay. Because I think I remember San Diego because that's when you gave me the book when I
Yeah,
was in
yeah,
Artist Alley there. Yeah.
right, right. And then, yeah, because we talked about, you were telling me you're about to do yours, and we talked a little bit about the putting the scannable icon on flyers. That's what we talked about at San Diego, which actually didn't work out all that great. I put out about, I want to say 400 or 500 flyers to San Diego, and if it's true, the icon only brought a couple in. So it's all learning experience. I don't know if it was just that Kickstarter didn't record those people using the icon to come to the site, or because I used a custom link, and I
Mm.
was supposed to tell me if they used that. I forget what they're called, the little black barcode that you scan with your phone.
Right.
And I only had like about 2 or 3 pledges from 3 days of putting flyers out in San Diego Comic Con.
It's a
So
pretty good idea, though.
yeah, for other shows I've seen better success. So I don't know if it was just because in San Diego you get so much stuff from so many people, and by the time you get home you got a full backpack of free flyers. So I think that's kind of why it's harder to reach people there. Whereas smaller shows have had much more success. I feel.
Yeah, you get
'Cause-
lost in the masses there.
right, right, yeah. There's just so much going on and so many people giving stuff out that I think that's why it's less successful at a big crazy show like that. Plus, a lot of people there aren't there for comics, so that they pick up the flyer because of the pretty art, but they're not going to
Mm-hmm.
go to the Kickstarter or anything like that.
What are some of your favorite shows that you've done well at?
Um, Phoenix, of course. I think because it's a local show, but also it's a comic book creator focused show. I feel so that's been really great for for putting the flyers out and just getting the word out for Kickstarter. Um, and Vegas was probably my other show that was really good. But I get some other people that tell me they do awful at Vegas. So I guess it just depends.
Yeah. What month is Phoenix?
Phoenix is in May, at end of
Okay.
May, when, or maybe June. I'll have to look. But I think it's end of May is when Phoenix Comic Con is.
I've heard good things about that Vegas show, though, that it's
It is a good show. They put on a great show. It's very like what I like is that it is comic book focused. So for me, that's a big draw. So I definitely recommend for people to go out there as a fan, or if you're, an indie creator, I definitely recommend trying it out. Um, Plus, it's Vegas, so you can still after the show you can go out and have fun or whatever, and do all the touristy stuff. So it's right close to all that stuff too. So I don't know. Again, I've heard mixed things, but for me, it's always been a wonderful experience. And they've sometimes have some really big name artists. And my first year there, Todd McFarlane stopped at my booth and talked to me for a minute. So things like that. Where at a big show, that's not going to happen because there's just so many more people and vendors and things going on that it's unlikely you're going to have someone stop by and chat with you that you wouldn't expect to see.
Well, Todd's a local guy too, right? He's a Phoenix guy.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, when I spoke to him, it was in Vegas, so it was just for a brief minute.
Oh, it was in Vegas. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking there's all this Arizona connection here with you, Brian, and Todd.
Yeah, there's a lot of big creators here. It's funny.
There's something in the water there.
I know. It's good.
That Arizona indie comic scene.
Yeah. Why does Patriotica, a little bit off the conversation, why does she wear the flag? Why does she have the stars and stripes?
So that's something that I'm gonna show over time. And issue number 3 already gives a little teaser as to why. Now here's the thing: the look of Patriotica is based on Aaron, the human that she shares the body with.
Okay.
So a lot of that comes from her and her backstory. So, but the reason it was created at the time it was created was because the soldiers were shooting at her and they were in the middle of a battle against the 2 evil Egyptian gods, and she just happened. There's somebody flying in the air. They just thought she was with them. So, quick on her feet, they decided to put something together that they would recognize. Hey, here, I'm with you guys. So that's what the reason for the outfit at that part of the story. But there's more to it later as to why she chose that too.
The girl on the floating ball, that's the villain of this story?
That's the villain of chapter 3, yes. That's Zero G. She'll be the so far if you read the first and second issue, Patriotica's pretty much easily handled her villains for the most part, but Zero G really puts her through the runner. She really puts the beating on Patriotica. So you'll see that she a lot of people have complimented me on the character, so we'll see if they like her once they read the story.
Who's the giant girl that's passed out behind them? That's pretty cool.
So yeah, that's the 2 Egyptian gods from the first issue, and they were taken out by Zero G.
Wow.
Patriotica couldn't take them out, and Zero G took them both out. So
pretty powerful with those swords there.
Yeah, and the wrecking ball that she's on, she has 3 of them. So she's got full control over gravity and all the ninja stuff, and she's also got an army of ninjas at her disposal.
So, I always like gravity-powered characters. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
There's not a lot of them.
No, especially not at least not in Marvel. I read mostly Marvel when I'm reading the mainstream stuff, and I know there's one guy that the X-Men fight. I don't even know his name, and I think it's only 1 issue. So because I was kind of trying to do some research about it, and I was like, this doesn't help me much.
Yeah, not a common power.
Gosh, I forgot the one character at DC that has that ability. And I always thought, like, if you could control gravity, you could probably not so much beat Superman, but you could slow him down pretty good.
Yeah.
And in the extremes of gravity, you've got a black hole. So, or just, making them float around, making them heavy, making them a lot of manipulation. So, well, you'll see. There's definitely fun stuff that can be done with that power.
Yeah, I understand you don't want to give too much away.
Right.
Yeah. How many pages is this book?
So there are 24-page books. And Valkyrie Saviors is 28 pages. Valkyrie, I kind of have like a complete story where it's kind of like the beginning and the end. And, Patriotica number 3 will round out and finish up the twins, the Sun God twins story. There'll be more after, of course, but this first volume is finished with number 3. and I think that I try to keep it standard size of comics. So you want to put it in your box with all your other books, things like that.
Do you have any plans of bringing this into like comic shops or
There are
any
some
other
comic
plans
shops.
like that?
Yeah. There I do have some comic shops already carrying me. I tried to go through a smaller distributor than Diamond, but she told me that the comic was too risque. So even though there's no, none of that kind of stuff in the comic, and this person decided it was too risque. So I was like, all right, you don't want to distribute it. And for me, I think there's much more risque comics out there. But
Definitely.
if you've read Patriotica, there's no blood, there's no nudity, there's not even any cussing. I mean, there's blood now, like a little bit here and there, but it's not like over the top. So
Well,
I
she
don't know.
doesn't look any, I guess, I don't know what the word for it is, but like Power Girl. I mean, she's
Right.
just kind of big chesty. That looks about it.
Yeah. Who
And
knows?
there's other characters that are like that in comics.
Right.
Psylocke. Well, Psylocke used to be. Maybe not so much anymore. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would it's kind of funny. She looks like a character that in the 90s no one would have like batted an eyelash at being, on display in a shop, but I guess now it's more.
The
Yeah.
sensibilities, yeah, have changed.
Yeah. A lot. And so for me, I like the comics in the '90s. So that's a big influence for my comics. So I don't know. And then I've gotten heat for it, of course. I got people complaining, but I'm just gonna keep doing my comics how I do them, and
Yeah.
people like it. Very clearly from the Kickstarters.
Well, you're building an audience. I mean, each one of these campaigns that I've noticed, you usually do better and better each one out. So that's pretty good. And then you have your stretch goals here. Let me go over the stretch goals, and maybe you can describe to people, if they don't know what a stretch goal is, what a stretch goal is and what you have here.
Sure. So a stretch goal is once the goal is met of the Kickstarter. So everyone who's running a Kickstarter sets a goal. In Patriotica's case, it was 3,500, and then once that goal is met, um, anything above that is where the stretch goals come in. So in this particular case, the first goal was double the initial amount. So instead of 3,500, it was 7,000. So once the Kickstarter reaches 7,000, the stretch goal is unlocked, and that means it's a free extra that everyone or that backed the physical item will get. So in this first stretch goal item, it was a bookmark with art from Patriotica 3, and everyone that backed the physical item, so if they pledged for a book or they pledged for a poster, they will be getting the bookmark along with those things. And then, as the stretch goals go on, they'll get each item on top of it. So you get the bookmark, then you'll get a sticker, then you'll get a mini print, and other things are unlocked, like digital rewards, such as digital wallpapers for your phone, digital wallpaper, widescreen wallpaper for your PC, and there's other extras I've included in the past, like music, um, and then there's also the stretch goals that allow me to work with a new
Did you
artist.
say music?
Yeah, I have
Where's
theme
the
music.
music one? That's cool.
Not
What?
in this. That's usually a high one because you can just go with the custom the music that you get royalty free music, which is there's really great royalty free music. But I wanted to have like a specifically made for Patriotica. And if you get a chance to watch the YouTube video trailer for Patriotica 3, that's the music that was
Well,
unlocked.
where's the music stretch goal? What number?
Not on this one. Not on this one. Because I already got the theme on issue number two
Oh,
on
okay.
Patriotica 2. And so that's how that was unlocked. And I
Hey,
used this.
Taylor. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got an idea. We actually had a theme for Black and White written for our trailers. So that's kind of a neat idea to get that into people's hands. So they get a digital file of like the
Right.
Patriotica theme song, right?
Yeah, you get the MP3.
Oh,
And
man, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's a digital reward because this way also there's people that only back digital, which I understand. They live on the other side of the world and don't want to
They
deal
can
with
save
shipping.
shipping. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, that's why I included digital wallpapers, the cell phone, you know, line art pages, all kinds of digital options that are extras included or unlocked by the stretch goals. And like the MP3 is one of the options, and always looking to find more. There's some new stuff that I'm trying to get someone to work with me on, but we'll see. We'll see if I can get that worked out before the end of the Kickstarter. And because I'm always trying to bring something new with the stretch goal rewards.
Well, these are very generous stretch goal rewards. These are very cool.
Yeah, and I think last time I want to say there was 18 items included in the stretch goal pack.
Wow.
Ranging from stickers, mini prints, lenticular card, um, it's a magnet.
That's a
Uh,
lot of stuff
yeah, and
for.
it's kind of neat. You get all this extra, and you're still paying just the regular price. So, you know, the higher the Kickstarter goes, the more stuff everyone gets. That is back the Kickstarter.
How much is your book? Where does it start at?
The first one, I believe, uh, you can get the digital for $5, but then that one doesn't include the rewards because that's just the base bare bones.
Right.
And then there's the $10 option, and that one on digital, which includes all the rewards. I think the first physical book is 15, and that $15 will include everything. It includes the book and everything unlocked. And also if you pledge for a physical item, you do get all the digital rewards too. So you know if you for that $15, people got all 17 items and all the digital stuff, the music, the wallpapers, and a bunch of other digital rewards.
That's the thing that people have to keep in mind when they buy these books, because I have heard, because I've done a couple Kickstarters and now an Indiegogo, and they kind of say, well, the price is higher than like a normal comic in a shop. Well, one, these are kind of collector items. They're small print runs, so they're unique unto themselves, and so obviously if we could sell more, then we could probably come down in price. But there's that aspect, but there's also all this extra stuff. So like they can get the book signed by you,
Right.
And by the artist as well. So you get two signatures for the $15, and then you get the digital copy, and then you get a digital line art copy, and then you get all the stretch goals on top of that. And
Right.
you're following this thing in inception to it being built. So usually with the updates and stuff, you're letting people know, like, here's some new page, like even after it's funded, you're saying here's some new pages. We've gone to the printer, like you're just updating them on everything that's happening. So they get to see a book being developed right in front of their very eyes. And I think it's a very unique way to sell these books. So that's what I always tell people, is that you're getting so much more than the book itself. You're getting, all the stretch goals, but you're also just getting like even access to signatures. Like, there's people, like, you can only do so many shows, Ron. I know you do a lot of shows, but you can only do so many. So,
Right.
yeah, you can, and some of the shows that you go to, you don't vend, right? You just kind of walk around, so you're not even accessible all the time to people. So this way, they can get, Ron to sign their book. And is it Dan Isco? How do you say his name?
Danusco. But yeah, in this case, so for this one, yeah, the artist Danusco is in Brazil, so that one I couldn't get the signature. That would have been a much more difficult challenge.
But they
But
will with the Kickstarter, though, right?
with the Kickstarter, no, not from Danusco. I've
Oh,
actually met.
wait. Wait, hold on. Normal cover, here it goes, by Dennis. Oh, signed. It says his name before yours. Okay, I was just confusing. So his name is before your name, and then it says signed by writer. Okay, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So you get Ron's. Well, once you get Ron's signature, you don't need anybody else's
Yeah,
signature.
hey, thanks. Sorry. Yeah, but you do get it in it way before everyone else because it'll be months before it's available in the stores or even at conventions when you get the Kickstarter. And like you said, there is also the Kickstarter variants that you only can get on Kickstarter. They're very limited. Some of them sell out on the Kickstarter. My last Valkyrie Saviors, I had one It really surprised me. It was one of the metal covers, and that sold out right away. So you get unique things that only come from the Kickstarter. You get to talk to me directly because people are messaging me all the time with their questions, either about the comic itself or how the Kickstarter related questions, rewards, adding on items, things like that. So these are all things, when you buy something at a comic store, you don't get to talk to the creator, and you don't get to see the work in progress, going on the backside of things. Whereas with Kickstarter, you do, because when I post updates, I'll post, like, the sketch arts, the character designs, or anything that comes by while the Kickstarter is running.
Yeah, they get to see all the
And
behind the scenes stuff that they
behind the
don't
scenes,
usually have
so
access to. Yeah. And are your variants limited, or can they buy
uh,
as many?
so some of them are limited. The chrome cover ones and the metal cover ones are limited. The ones in the mystery box are limited, and of course the top tier ones are all limited too. So there's also that rarity that people like, that you can only get on Kickstarter.
Very cool.
May I ask a question from the chat?
Sure.
Sure.
So Ron, do you sell your books on I guess the Indiegogo equivalent of in demand is, do your books go for sale on BackerKit after the campaign ends, or is there a place where people can get your previous books?
They can get them on my Etsy shop, which is Etsy/Mount Olympus Comics. If you Google, it's probably easier to find through Google, but if you put Etsy Mount Olympus Comics, a lot of my older ones are on there. I do usually do a 1 week campaign after the Kickstarter ends, but not all the books will be on there. Only the ones that will later be generally accessible. There will be a few of the more limited ones on there, but for the most part, you have to get them to the Kickstarter. So,
And they are the issue 1 and 2. You can buy them on this Kickstarter, right? Patriotica
yeah,
3
you can
as
also
well.
add, right. So there is a pledge level that has all three of the Kickstarter only books, which will be retired after this Kickstarter. So, and there are add-on options. That's the one thing I'm kind of hoping Kickstarter at some point makes easier. Right now, you kind of have to do it all manually, and I'm happy to explain it to anyone that sends me a message or wants to email me at Mount Olympus Comics, uh, mountolympuscomics@gmail.com, and they can ask me any questions about adding on to their pledge. So basically, you pledge for something, like say you pledge for issue number 3, the brand new Kickstarter version, and then if you look at the add-on section on the campaign page, there's instructions there for how to add on issue number 1 and issue number 2.
People want to know, I know that you've built up quite a platform on Kickstarter, but would you ever consider funding one of these books on something like Indiegogo?
Well, after seeing that Art had this great success on his Kickstarter, congratulations, by the way, on that
Oh,
Indiegogo.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was really fantastic. And I've seen other people have done really well, and I've had a lot of people ask me about it. So I am definitely, it's absolutely yes that I am looking at it. Just figuring out how and when is the thing.
Yeah,
So
I think that it right now, since we've done 2 Kickstarters prior, and now we're with Indiegogo, I think it's a superior platform. Actually, it's much easier to maneuver through and to keep track of people buying things. It's more transparent as far as the updates you get and the breakdowns, the way it's all broken down for you. Um, it's way more intuitive and all inclusive, I think, with profit and loss statements and things like that,
Mm.
mhm.
than Kickstarter. And one of the things about Kickstarter that breaks your heart is that there's a funding period after the campaign closes, and Kickstarter goes after the funds, I guess. And a lot of times, this is where the heartbreak comes in. Some people don't come through with their pledges, and so with Indiegogo, the credit card information and stuff, it goes through instantly, um, and it's a lot different than Kickstarter in the sense that there's a lot less people that back out of the campaign at the end.
Right,
And
or the credit card doesn't go through.
Right.
there's also the in-demand thing, which it's pretty cool. Like in-demand is kind of built into Indiegogo, so you don't have to give a percentage like you do with BackerKit. So if your book meets its goal, you can opt into in-demand and basically have it function as a store to still keep selling product after the campaign ends, which I think would be very beneficial for you, Ron.
Yeah, yeah, that is a really cool option.
Well, the thing is that just to add, Indiegogo still takes a percentage, Taylor.
Yeah, it still takes a percentage. Actually,
It's
I
it,
misspoke.
yeah, it's the same. It's the same percent that they took. That the deal is. Um, yeah, I just
Oh,
wanted to clarify.
okay. So
No,
yeah,
thank you.
same percentage as Kickstarter then.
Yeah. Just I know that BackerKit has like its own separate fees and stuff.
Right. Yeah, yeah, it does have its own fees, and I mean it's just what I've learned and what I've used so far and what's been great. But I definitely have my eye on Indiegogo, and a lot of other Kickstarter people have gone over there. I saw there's people that run both at the same time, so that's always a possibility too, something to consider. You know,
Yeah, you've established quite a fan base on Kickstarter, so I think that would be the hardest thing. Like
yeah,
if you were to trade platforms, is how to
I don't
bring
think I
those
would
people
trade out
over.
completely. Yeah, I don't think I would trade out completely. I think it would be more of like going back and forth kind of thing. Or maybe one title over there. I do have new titles coming up, so that would be something I would consider. Or I don't know. There's a lot of options I've been looking at, because why not? There's no rule that says you can't run it on both, or you can't run one and then the other, things like that. So these are all things I've been looking into.
Right, and Kickstarter does have it has I guess a bigger name recognition. When you say Kickstarter, I think people understand that more. Like the branding is more popular, I guess, than say Indiegogo.
Right, right.
Blacklist Universe suggests that you could, let's see, blah, 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 same books, all in your Indiegogo. Oh yeah, so he was suggesting maybe you list all of the previously printed Patriotica books on Indiegogo just to get all of them on there. And
Hmm.
Grim Cold asks, is Ron Zaba the artist for this? Who's the artist on this book right now?
On issue number 3, his name is Danusco Campos. I'm the writer, Ron Zabala. So I do all the
Yeah.
writing, and then Danusco is the artist who's drawing the interiors for number 3, and then I have various artists for the covers.
So Ron, do you still fulfill your own campaigns, or do you
Yes.
hire a company?
I'm really looking into hiring a company because each one has gotten bigger and bigger. This last one we had to do 700 packages, and it was just me and my wife, and it was a lot of work.
Wow.
So I am looking into working with a fulfillment company, um, and probably for this Patriotica, even I might have to use a fulfillment company, but I want to see what's involved. I mean, it might come down to just us doing it again, but uh, it is something I've seriously considered. How about yourself? Are you using one for your Indiegogo campaign, or are you?
Yeah, we like tripled our Kickstarter numbers on the new in the Black and White Indiegogo. So I think we are going to try to do it ourselves, but I'm pretty sure that at some point we're going to regret that decision. And there's so many more. There's even printers now that have their own fulfillment division. So there's a lot more people out now that will help you fulfill your crowdfunded books. So I found that pretty amazing this time out, where a lot of companies came to us and asked if they could fulfill, the orders and stuff. So I don't know. We're gonna check this out and see what it's all about. But I think we're gonna probably have the realization, like you and your wife did,
Mhm.
and just go, well, maybe we should give up a little bit of money and and get somebody else to do this. The only problem is if the fulfillment isn't close, the signatures become a problem,
Right.
because then you have to ship the books to you or whoever's going to sign them, and then you have to ship them back to the fulfillment, and it just kind of becomes a little problematic just because of location.
Yeah. In which case, if you so for me, my printer is local, and they did also offer to do fulfillment. So it's all going to come down to what they offer. But that would be the most convenient because I can just go down to the print shop, sign all the books there, and then have them do the rest.
Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about the storage aspects of the campaign.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
the storage.
Yeah, because you're at 677 backers, so that's, I mean, without the digital, that's still, close to 700 books, and you're still 8 days out, so you're probably going to do close to 1,000, if not 1,000, right?
Oh, much more than 1,000 because a lot of the tiers have two, three, four, five different covers. So some of my best-selling tiers are the five cover ones. And
Wow.
so last time I printed 2,000, a little over 2,000 books for Patriotica too.
Oh, that's right. Because okay, I see what you're saying. So, like, it's 677 backers at this point, but there's multiple books in the tiers. Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
So it just, and also, when people add stuff on, um, and it's just that much more books. But and so storage is a little hectic. Those first few days, it's always like we've got a bunch of rooms full of Patriotica books and stretch goal packs, and it's funny. And of course, I'm trying to keep my 4-year-old daughter from playing with all that stuff. But, so having a fulfillment company would definitely make it so we don't have all that going on, and the time also is another thing. It would allow me to get into the next campaign because it was definitely a tremendous amount of time. And my wife packaged like all 700 herself, because I'm doing everything online. So it would just save us so much time if we had someone else doing it. Again, it's just going to come down to see what they offer and how they do. I'm also always concerned, you know, how well they're going to handle things. A lot of people these days are grading their comics, and one thing I can say, a lot of people have gotten 9.8s from my books, and I want to keep it that way or higher. And if I have some fulfillment company just manhandling the comics, that would be a bad thing.
Yeah.
So
Do you were you shipping the Patriotica books in plastic with backing boards, or were you just putting them into the envelopes?
no, 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 definitely. So the first one, yeah, the first one was a disaster because it was my first time, and I made the mistake of mailing them out in padded envelopes, which is just like amateur mistake. I did bag and board them, but that's not enough. It's definitely not enough. So then, for everything after that one, I've been using these really great sturdy boxes that everyone loves. I've gotten great compliments from them, and my wife packages everything with bubble wrap and makes everything really secure.
Are they
So,
those Gemini mailers? Is that
so
the
they're not Gemini's, but they are similar. If you've seen them, it's got a lot of the same features as a Gemini, but they've been really fantastic for protecting the books. So, like I said, a lot of people complimented me on it because I know a lot of people love the Gemini and they swear by the Gemini. But these boxes are super sturdy. The same ones, I'm pretty sure they're the same ones that J. Scott Campbell mails his stuff out on with. And I've seen a lot more artists starting to mail out their stuff using this box too.
okay?
Yeah.
So you still are putting them in the plastic with the backing
Oh,
boards?
so bag and board and bubble wrap, and this very sturdy box.
Because somebody
So
told me that if you have a plastic item in the box, you can't. What is the mail? Media mail? The boxes? Is that
Oh, that's
true?
right.
yeah, I don't know. The media mail, it depends on who you talk to. It depends on the post office. Some of them are, they don't care. They just send it through, and then sometimes they'll open them up and be like, "Oh, no, no, we're not taking a comic book," or any number of excuses. It really just depends on who's handling the mail that day.
That's
So,
true.
um, yeah, it comes down to with your post office and who's handling the mail. And international doesn't apply. So
Yeah. So just know if you buy a Patriotica book, it will be well packaged, and it will get to you in a pristine state.
Yeah.
That's
9.8.
9.8 or
Or higher.
above.
Yes. Yeah. That's our goal. That's the goal. I mean, obviously, it doesn't always happen, but for the most part, I've got a lot of compliments. I've seen people posting up their 9.8s online, which is always exciting to see. So um, that would be also the advantage of using the printer for fulfillment. Is it's one less set of hands handling the book and
As long
keeping
as they handle it in a, you know, respectful manner, like you said.
right. But since they're the printers, they know at least the ones that I'm using. So we'll see. But we'll see. Yeah, it's all you know. I'll be doing research on it too. That's one thing I recommend. Research. If I'm gonna give any advice to anyone doing a Kickstarter, because I get a lot of people who are like, "Hey, that looks like a cool thing. I'm gonna start one next month." And I researched for 2 years before I jumped in and did it. You know, I did a lot of like I said back in the Kickstarter and stuff because if you just jump in, you're gonna be overwhelmed, and there's so much more you could have done. You really there's like a ton of free resources, and people just have to research it, research, and it'll pay off.
So let me ask you that this is actually leading into my next question. What would be the top three things that you would tell somebody thinking about doing and like either Indiegogo or Kickstarter?
Yeah, okay. So the first thing I would say is uh, don't jump in right away. Don't take at least 6 months of looking into things, preparation. Batman style. Get you gotta read what other people are doing online. There's a million things. If you just Google, Kickstarter advice, stuff like that. Do all the free stuff. You don't have to take any of the. I did like one or two of those paid things, and really, uh, I found out later if I had just researched a little longer, I would have found it for free. But there's a wealth of knowledge out there online. You just got to look for it, and you. So that first thing is to take your time. Don't jump into it. The second thing is uh, measure your stretch goal and book stuff at the post office. So take each of your tiers and make a mock-up and measure it at the post office because you don't want to get hit by that ridiculously high shipping price for international.
You
That's
mean you mean the size? So the ship like so the box or whatever size, right?
right. So you make a mock-up of it. Take your highest tier, say like a 5 book set. Put 5 books. It doesn't have to be your own book, but make sure it's the same size, like it's 5 24-page books. Put them in a box that you're going to use the exact same box and however many rewards you estimate. And, put them all in one box and take them to the post office. Measure it for the price for shipping in the US and international. And that way, you don't.
They'll weigh them too, right? That's why it's
Right.
important to do the heaviest tier.
Yeah, the heaviest tier. And then, if anything, do all your tiers. If you have multiple 2 book combos, then you don't have to try it, each 2 book, but at least do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what I did with my first one or my second one. Because the first one, I made the mistake of not doing this, and I definitely wasn't, in for a surprise with the shipping prices. So shipping is something that I hear a lot of people complain about and that they weren't expecting. And let's see, the third thing I would say is backing other Kickstarters. You really, that's the best information you can get is when you get updates from other Kickstarters you've backed and you hear what they are doing or what they are going through. Like when they talk about, oh, this printer was terrible for me, they'll say which printer it was. That way you can avoid that printer. Or they'll say this printer was wonderful and you can use that printer. Or they'll say, this was a big issue. Pins. A lot of people like doing the pins. And, I did it in my first Kickstarter, but I had so many packages that were destroyed because of the pin or international issues, packages that bounced back because the international didn't want the pin.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Because of the metal.
the hook, that metal hook, it came out and it
Okay.
was like sticking out of the package, and or it ripped right through the package. So after that, I know people still do pins, but because of that, I've kind of stayed away from it. So things like that you learn from other people talking about it.
Well, I would also add, I know there were only three, but social media, right? That you should make sure that you have a pretty good presence as far as your social media, because if that's going to be your audience, at least initially, is going to be all your social, media. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, those things. How do you feel
YouTube.
about those? What's that?
Yeah, YouTube. That was the biggest help for me. And the first Patriotica, these really wonderful YouTubers that shared it and helped get the word out. So YouTube is really a big one, and of course Facebook.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that what we're on?
Wait, what? Yeah, that wasn't part of the deal. So I highly recommend that. Um, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Everything and anything. Everything helps. Every little thing helps.
Well, because
Uh,
if you don't have those, I feel if you don't have a good social platform, that's your advertising, that's your audience, and if that isn't significant, then this is how I feel anyway, that your crowdfunding would be very limited. It's going to be limited, I think, to based on what your social media can provide, because it's really hard to advertise outside of your I guess your numbers on your social platforms once you've launched the thing. I mean, you might be able to build some, but that's not really the time to build it. The time to build it is like years and years in advance, before you launch these things. How do you feel about that, Ron?
yeah, it's social media is an absolute must. Um, there's other ways to reach out to people, but social media is probably the easiest, and it can be both the most expensive and the least expensive because you can just go out and post stuff on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. The big problem is when I first with the first Patriotica, Facebook was much better about letting my posts reach other people, but now you have to pay a lot of money to get posts out there to any decent number of people, and so that's kind of become an obstacle with Facebook. But I believe Instagram was bought out by Facebook, so now they are switching over to that too. I do see a lot more traffic from Instagram, and then Twitter for some people has been great, but it all depends on where your audience is, um, and how often they check. So that's definitely very, very important.
Well, if you didn't have the social media, then what would you suggest they do?
I think it's like so important that you really do need it. I know that webcomics just do it all through their website, so you at least need a website. And I don't feel that there's enough that you meet enough people or that you get out enough to do enough shows, just doing shows. So um, it's probably website or webcomic things like that. If you already have one, that's like a built-in audience. And word of mouth, of course, is another big one. It's getting people to share your stuff.
Yeah. So, in lieu of those things, I mean, do you suggest advertising, like paid advertising or anything
So,
like that?
so paid advertising is very. This is something as a warning to people is you can spend a lot of money and it won't go anywhere with advertising. So that's something again that you want to research like crazy before you spend money on the advertising. Because I see people that they'll just throw tons of money at their Facebook advertising and not get any results at all. And it's a very tricky game. It's something that even now I still don't know. It's constantly changing, and it's something I'm constantly trying to figure out the best methods for advertising because it gets very expensive very fast. And here's another thing: a lot of people say this, and this works, but it might not work for you. So it
Right.
also depends on your campaign and depends on your fan base.
Yeah, and what the book is, the content and everything like that.
Right.
Because yeah, we ran Facebook ads for the Kickstarter Oodles and Doodles art book, and I don't really think we saw much results. And with the Black and White Remastered Indiegogo, we didn't do hardly any marketing really on Facebook. Well, we didn't take out any ads, period, and we just concentrate on building the YouTube platform. And so, we just kind of invested in YouTube basically, as far as our main sort, like our main way of advertising is through, the YouTube itself. So I agree. I think Facebook is definitely harder and harder these days to get anything out. And I have noticed that Instagram has been kind of like the numbers aren't the same as they were when I first started. Like
Right.
they used to like you used to get quite a bit of people like traffic on your stuff, and now it seems to really be slowing down. So yeah, I think that they just those platforms want you to advertise. If
Paid.
you're go ahead.
Oh no, paid advertising.
Yeah,
That's what
paid
they want.
advertising. Yeah, so I think they're cracking down on that stuff so they can get the paid advertising. But to be honest, like Ron said, be very very cautious about that. Be very very careful because I've heard some people say that they thought it did well for them, and more often I've heard people say that it doesn't. And as far as the Facebook ads, I think you have to invest quite a bit to see any real results. I heard one person tell me, I think the best advice with Facebook is that if you're going to take the ads out, don't expect that advertising to reflect directly on the campaign that you're running. But what it does is it creates awareness about you, your book, and possibly future projects that you're going to be doing. So if you look at it as just like advertising overall,
Right.
like you're advertising yourself as a creator, you're advertising Patriotica as a brand, and that type of thing, and just getting the word out, and the ads might reach more people than just your normal, Facebook posts or Twitter posts or whatever. So that might be the best way of looking at it, as a long haul, and that's only going to work if you're somebody like Ron or like Taylor and I that are doing multiple, books, crowdfunding books and
Yeah.
projects. Yeah.
I
Right.
think it's
Exactly.
really easy to in the beginning just pour a lot of money into Facebook and Instagram ads and just kind of hope you're going to get that back because they're pretty relatively easy to set up. So I think a lot of people make that mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sounds like big numbers to say, for $10 you reach 4,000 people, but those 4,000 people might just be scrolling by, or might have the absolute zero interest in comics,
Mm-hmm.
and or they might have tagged comics as one of their interests, but it's only because they watch the movies or whatever, but they've never bought a comic book in their life. So um, it's definitely a tricky thing, and I would say for anyone that's doing their very first campaign, on your first campaign, don't go overboard, because you don't want to sink all your money into advertising and then not hit your goal, or have most of that goal money go towards everything you spent. So I would say, over time you can do more with each one, but that first one, I think, to be wary on spending on advertising. I mean, there's also like banners you can buy on websites and stuff, and that I've seen mixed results with. So it's all, again, it's research and trial and error, but it can get very expensive very fast.
Are you still running ads, Ron, like for Patriotica 3?
Oh, absolutely. On Facebook is where I've always done my. I'm pretty much for my first three. I figured do everything the same. If it ain't broke, right? So that's how I've run all three campaigns, pretty much the same way. Doing the
So then,
Facebook
so
ads.
then you do think that it's part of your success, anyways, is running the ads.
I absolutely, I do think it helps, exactly, and not exactly for what you said. I don't think it's been like people click on the ad and go and pledge, but I think people see the ad and they're like, "Oh, okay, that's Patriotica." And then the second time around, they're like, "Whoa, hey, I remember this from the first round. I saw it. I saw it on Facebook." And then the third time around, they're like, "Oh, I got to get in on that." So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it works. So yeah, while it's not showing me that people are clicking on it and taking them straight to the project, they are supporting it eventually, or at least it is helping with the brand awareness, which is a big part of it.
Right.
Building brand recognition.
Yeah. And think about this too. From what I understand, and I think what we've done in the past is your advertising is tax deductible too. So as far as just creating a profit and loss for your Kickstarter Indiegogo, your advertising should be the majority of it should be tax deductible, right, as expenditures for the campaign.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That's the side of the business my wife handles. She would know.
Yeah. So that's just something to think about as well. So you may not get it back directly in pledges, but you do get it as far as a loss statement or a deductible on your taxes, which you're at 35,665. Let me refresh it actually, and see where you're at now. But then you can play, like those things. Okay, you're the same. You can then, deduct that. So if you put, I don't know, what would you say an average amount would be, or that you would suggest? I know it all based on the campaign and stuff like that, but what, 1,000 maybe, 500 that you would invest into advertising?
Oh, honestly, that with each campaign, it's gone up. So it really, I would say not to spend more than a couple $100 initially. I mean, it adds up. It's expensive, and again, it's trial and error. So you don't want to drop $1,000 on your first campaign without just kind of blindly, because it is kind of also a little bit of gambling. So,
Yeah.
I would say I can't really say an amount because it all depends on a person's budget and also depends on what they're funding. And we're just talking about, even with comics, if you're funding a 24-page book versus a 64-page hardcover, these are all a big range, and it also depends on your artist that you're using. So it would just, I would say it should be maybe like 5% of your goal, something like that. I think that would be maybe it's 5%, 5 to 10% of your final goal, maybe 5%.
Yeah, I almost said 10, but yeah, to start off, 5% would probably be best.
That's just for safety because
Yeah.
it's your first time. You're still figuring things out, and don't expect anything from it. And that's why it has to be that low number. Because if you go and you put 10% in, say a $10,000 goal, it's a lot of money that you just might have burned through for nothing.
Right.
But you'll learn something. It's not for nothing. Obviously, you'll learn something, but it will be a very painful lesson. And yeah, of course, there's always a chance that you get it right the first time and it works fantastic. But for the most part, I think there's so many variables that I would highly recommend not spending a huge sum of your money towards advertising on Facebook anyways.
Yeah. Where do you suggest you put the initial advertising? At the beginning of the campaign, middle of the campaign, or the end of the campaign?
Right. So for your first Kickstarters, I would say most Kickstarters, the most important time is the beginning and the end. The middle, you'll find, is very difficult to get to go up or down. And it'll still happen, and you still get movement. And
We
of
don't
course,
like the down part of the what you just said, though.
yeah, but it's true. That's the hardest part is the middle of the campaign because the first day, at least on Kickstarter will help you because it'll say new campaign and it'll push you towards the top, and people that come to the website will see it more. But then after the first day or two, you're pretty much really hard to find. Even if your campaign is the most funded comic book in the comic book section, unless they specifically put most funded, you're not going to show up until like the third or fourth page. Just the way Kickstarter runs their show, unless you're one of their favorites, which I've never gotten. In my five campaigns, I've never gotten a Kickstarter.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like their featured thing. So,
what's up with that Kickstarter staff?
They have their methods to their madness. So, and I know that's another reason for people going over to Indiegogo. But yeah, so at least for the first 2 days, they will put you up at the top, which is great, and you'll get the added boost. And then on your last day or two, the same thing happens again. So I think it helps for people to see that your numbers are good, that people are interested, and that it's moving, and that will happen at the beginning, at the end. So you might as well advertise to get the most traffic at the beginning and the end.
Okay, so
Uh,
you do both then. So you put your ads out at the beginning of the campaign and then towards the end of the campaign.
well, yeah, that's how I did it initially. Now at this point, I have ads running the whole time,
The whole
but
time.
yeah, but now, but in the beginning, for my first couple Kickstarters, I did just do it only at the beginning and only at the end because it is expensive to keep them running through it the whole time.
Yeah.
But it is, but I definitely recommend if you're gonna put a big brunt of that money somewhere, it should be at the first couple days when people are first checking things out, and the last couple days when got to get in before it closes.
Do you start advertising like a day or two before you actually launch, or do you start the ads the day of the launch?
Oh no, I start at least a month before. You
So
gotta
the
get the
the
word out.
paid ads you start a month before?
The paid ads on a very small amount, and mainly just myself just putting it out there. Um, but at least a month before, people have to know, because if you just start advertising a day or two before, there's a good chance you're gonna miss it. Not everyone's on every day.
Oh yeah, I was mainly talking about the paid stuff. I realized like the advertising, yeah, like on your all your social media and stuff.
Yeah.
But the paid stuff, so you do that maybe a day or two before the campaign.
Yeah, no, I don't think, not even no, because like again, a day or two before is not, it's too late. You need to do it at least a week before. You want to let people know, here it is, and once it's paid for, it's still gonna be there. So you pay for an ad, you're gonna get that boost, like 1,000 people like it, and then okay, so it ends after a day or whatever. It still has that 1,000 likes, so those 1,000 people's friends have a chance of seeing it, as opposed to if you do it for 7 days before the Kickstarter starts. Whereas if you do it the day before, yeah, you'll get that 1,000 people see it, but that's it. Whereas, if you do it from 7 days before, you got 7 days of all that 1,000 people seeing that ad that they gave a like to.
Right, right.
So that's just the way I see it. And there's a lot more intricacy to that, of course.
Okay. Let me see here. So you have 8 more days. You have 670 backers. You're at 35,665. So let me refresh this. See where we're at.
Well, we're in the middle, so there's probably not much movement right now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just like doing it. And so I hope you're okay with that.
Oh no,
It's
no,
always
definitely.
satisfying when it rolls
Yeah.
over.
It's
It's
the
fun.
greatest feeling when it goes up.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is fun for sure,
There's like
especially that last day.
yeah, it's crazy highs, right, Ron? And then there's like some crazy lows.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are the worst. Those are
Yeah.
the times where you'll go a whole day with nothing happening or negative, and those are the worst of the
Yeah.
worst.
Because
And
those things, like when that happens, when it goes down, you start reevaluating everything. Like you just start thinking, okay, what did I do? That thing I just posted up, did that kill it? What happened? Did I not advertise enough for
right,
that day? Like you start thinking about
What
all
was the
those things.
final straw?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you start
And
getting
these
weirdly superstitious. Like, oh,
yeah, of
I had
course.
the pink socks on yesterday. That's when the numbers went up. Maybe I should wear the pink socks again today.
It happens. It definitely happens like that. And the best thing is to just know that in the middle it's gonna be hard every single time. It's always hard in the middle.
Yeah,
So you gotta just that's like the perfect time to take a little break. If you're like me and you're on top of I'm on top of my Kickstarter 24/7 pretty much. But in the middle, that's when I'm like, okay, I need a little time, family time, time to relax, and work on other things. Um, that's the best time to do it,
Mhm.
because it's gonna be hard in the middle regardless. So you might as well not stress yourself out, not spend extra money. That's not the solution. Is to drop a ton of money in the middle, because it just at least for me. And again, everything I say, it might it's how it worked for me, but for other people it might work. There's just people that might drop a ton of money in the middle, and it helps them. So it just for me, the middle time is my break time. And then, I still do things. I'm still on it. I'm still watching it, and I'm still advertising. But uh, relax a little bit. Now, 8 days left. Now it's go time again. On top of it, and constantly working on it. But you do need a little rest in the middle, and it is it's a very stressful thing. One thing that I don't have this time for the first time in 5 campaigns. I have the Kickstarter app on my phone, and I highly recommend it for anybody that's doing a Kickstarter. And it used to update me every time I got a pledge, or anyone sent me a message. But for whatever reason, the app's not doing that anymore. And I tried; all the settings are the same and everything. And it's kind of been a little bit of a relief because it was always stressful when I would look at my phone and there was no amounts. There wasn't that message that said, $2, $10 pledged, $20 pledged. And, I'd be like, oh, it's been 3 hours and there hasn't been a pledge. So now it's like, okay, I'll check the Kickstarter every few hours. I'm like, okay, it's on my time as opposed to like every time I look at my phone, which is all the time.
Well, Ron,
So,
that's how I feel about cell phones in general. I
oh,
don't want to be bugged all the time. I want it
yeah.
to be like, go home, just the normal phone calls at home, and so you're not like 24/7. You're not on all the time. Yeah, it gets
Because
a
then
little
you
daunting.
can, because then you can browse at your leisure instead of it constantly alerting you to look at it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But I mean, there's pros and cons again. Yeah, it's for my nerves, it's great, but for being on top of it, like okay, it's been a couple hours. There's been no movement. It's time to do something.
Yeah.
So there's that advantage, but it's also not good to like constantly be stressed out about it for a whole 30 days. And
Hmm.
again, and I do recommend 30 days. Any less than that, I feel you don't get enough time to expose it. Any longer than that, you risk much more people backing out, or just people forgetting about it, or people saying later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, and then they forget. So I would say 30 days is really the perfect amount of time.
Yeah.
I tried a shorter campaign, and I felt that I didn't reach enough people. And then I tried a longer campaign, and I felt like that was way too much. That was hard. So,
Just an extra week of stress.
yeah, exactly, and it was an extra week well, not a week, but I would say about 3 or 4 days extra of that middle time, and so it was that much longer where things weren't happening, and I was like, okay,
Oh.
this is really awful. I've extended my torture. So
That's
again,
a good way of looking at it.
yeah, it was the first couple of days and the last couple of days that mattered. So I was like, okay, those middle days were just driving me crazy. But you
But
do
like you
need,
said, it's a learning process.
yeah, it's all trial and error. It also depends on your campaign. I see, I follow a lot of the video game campaigns and stuff like that, and those guys are, they have much higher goals, so they absolutely need the longer time. Because yeah, I did feel that I got more because of the longer time, but I had to work that much more, and it's like, okay, you got to find a balance because I should have been working on the next campaign already.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, okay, this 30 days thing, that's what's working for me right now.
Well, let me
So
just ask you, because we should start wrapping it up, because I know you have to take a flight
yeah,
to Alamo Comic Con and promote Patriotica 3. So,
absolutely.
so is there any parting shot, and then about Patriotica 3, and then what are you doing after Patriotica 3?
Yeah, so Patriotica 3 right now, you can add on a lot of wonderful options. There's a lot of different covers. Um, We've got 17 stretch goals unlocked. So, if you start backing
Wow.
now, you're getting a ton of great stuff from various artists, stickers, uh, mini prints. I think I've got a coaster on there, all fun stuff too. So, I highly recommend getting in before it ends. It ends in 8 days. And things always get really crazy towards the end, so keep an eye on it. Um, and what was the second question?
Oh, what do you have planned after
Oh,
Patriotica 3?
well, yeah. So the fulfillment part of Patriotica 3, and I do have a new title in the works, Samurai of Oz, and that will probably January is kind of where I'm looking at that one. That's basically Wizard of Oz meets Japanese anime, Ninja Scroll, Vampire Hunter D. So a little bit of the ninjas and samurais and demons and ghosts mixed in with Oz.
Oh, very cool. So you're
Yeah.
thinking January, February on that?
Probably January. Yeah, I think it'll be January, maybe the very, very end of December. But more likely January, because December is a hard month to kickstart. That's another one I would advise people to avoid.
What's a hard month?
December. December
Oh,
is a
okay.
very,
Yeah,
very big
yeah.
kickstart. I mean, I sometimes you have to do it, and that's where it falls. But because everyone's doing the Christmas shopping and all that stuff, so um, or distracted with all the family activities and stuff, so you're not gonna get as much out of your Kickstarter as if you did it during the summer, which is the opposite. The summer I felt was the good time.
Yeah, yeah. So so you already have your artists and stuff working on the Samurai of Oz?
Yes, that's underway right now. Actually, right now I've got them in the testing phase. So the script's all done. So I just gotta get the right artist. I like trying out different artists. See who's gonna bring my story to life as best I envision it. And we'll see how it goes. I've got some covers done already. So, and I've got all the promotional work, um, getting lined up, and I have been advertising it at shows. And that's gonna be a standalone. It's gonna be 3 chapters. Once it goes through her adventure in Oz, with samurai and ninja style, and once it's done, it's done. So something different.
Yeah,
Uh,
well you have to mix it up. So this are they all your characters, are they all sharing the same universe, or are these totally different universes? I mean, is there a time that maybe all your characters will be in one book?
so that is something I want to eventually do. Right now, they are Patriotica. That's like the main superhero universe, and that's gonna go. I've got another character, another book planned for next year called Collateral D. It's a character that shows up in Patriotica, and she'll have her own book next year. But Valkyrie Saviors is on their own because that's also a story that I have planned for 5 chapters that they'll play out, and then actually, yeah, 5 and then another 5 before the story's finished for that one. And then after, if there's enough interest, then I do have an idea to bring them all together. Since there's a lot of magic and sorcery and all that kind of stuff across all 3 series, there's definitely a way to bring them all together,
Oh, that'll be fun.
like an event book, like a crossover book.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be your Justice League or your Avengers.
Right, right,
Hmm.
something like that. Yeah.
Hey, do you mind if we kind of update on Black and White, and then we'll say our parting shots?
Yes, please do.
Oh, thank you.
Let's take a peek.
So Taylor, this is your time to shine.
All right. So, as you can see on the screen, this is a Art and Eyes campaign. There's Art's beautiful artwork on the new cover of Black and White Remastered. Um, we wrapped up last week, and the book is now in demand. So, if you still want to get a copy of Volume One, you can visit the link in the description underneath the Patriotica link and still pick yourself up a book so you don't have to miss out on getting Volume One. At this point, all of our stretch goals are still intact. So if you order a physical copy of the book, you will get in on all these stretch goals. We got a bookmark, we got a sticker, we got a patch now, a mini print. Um, one of the original creators, Pamela Thibert, will also be signing all the books. We extended the book to 54 pages. And we also have an art giveaway coming up. And you get all that stuff. And we have a couple other stretch goals still. We're going to be adding some still in the works, probably, but we still have our 50K stretch goal and I think one other. So keep backing and you'll get more and more stuff as we go along.
Yes, yes. And these are exciting times, Ron. These are exciting times where creators are taking matters in their own hands and taking it right to the fan base, right to the audience. And this is a great place to be. And it was great talking to you, Ron.
Hey,
And
yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
yeah, and continued success. I met Ron a couple years ago. He's a great guy, really, really supportive with all crowdfunding and things like that. Let me see if I get back to our main page without screwing everything up. There we go.
Got it.
Yeah, so I'm learning, Ron. I'm learning. They call me a boomer because I'm an old man and I don't know how to use technology.
Well, it just changes every day.
That's true. Yeah, but this is exciting. Being able to take it right to our audience, building the audience, creating properties that we're passionate about. These aren't mandated corporate, ideas like draw this or create that. This is stuff is coming from our hearts. It's coming from our minds, and it's a great place to be, and it's a great time. And Ron is really, really successful at it. So if you guys have not checked out Patriotica 3, you should. And is there a store, Ron, where they can get some of your other books, like Valkyrie Savior and the Patriotica 1 and 2?
Yes, you can find it on our Etsy shop. That's where Mount Olympus Comics Etsy, if they want to find all our older stuff. And that's I'll have some of it available as add-ons also for the Kickstarter that's live right now.
Okay. And where's the best place to find you on social media?
If you go to MountOlympusComics.com, that'll take you to our Facebook, and that's the one I'm most active on. But I do use Instagram and Twitter, and I eventually MountOlympusComics.com. Actually, very soon, probably in the next week or so, I've got a site that's all set up that'll have everything, all of the social media. So for whatever your social media preference is, you go to MountOlympusComics.com. It'll also point you to our latest Kickstarter.
Very cool. Well, you have a safe trip to Alamo Comics this weekend. Kick some butt, sell some books, advertise some product, and
Yes.
continue success, Ron. Really, I mean, from my heart, man. You hustle. You're probably one of, I know a handful of people that work really, really hard at this, and you're definitely one of those people. So thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you. I really appreciate the chance to talk about Patriotica 3, and thank you for having me on your show. Really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Taylor, you want to get us out?
Please. Okay, so if you guys check the links in the description, you can find a place where you can get your copy of Black and White, and you can also, using the link, visit the newest Patriotica Kickstarter. So please consider backing that book. You can get all of the previous books, I believe, in some tiers there. And visit MountOlympusComics.com for more information. You can go to the Etsy shop as well under Mount Olympus Comics. I'll put that link soon. Remember, Black and White isn't in demand, so you can still get that book. Keep in mind that our channel at this time is not monetized, so if you are enjoying this content, giving us a like on this video helps boost our views. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and consider dropping a donation in the donations link as well. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. And thanks again, Ron.
And thank you guys.
Everybody have a good day. Later.